Well, we're here in the Amy Studios during Sterilization Standards Week, sitting down with Randy Eveland. Randy, tell us a little bit about yourself and your role and what you've been involved in.
Hi, Amanda. Thank you. Randy Eveland. I'm a senior principal scientist with STERIS. I've been working at STERIS for over 20 years. And for the last 15 plus years or so, I've been heavily involved with vaporized hydrogen peroxide. I've also been involved with Amy for quite a few years with a number of different standards on sterilization materials as well as vaporized hydrogen peroxide.
Yeah.
So,
And we're thrilled to have your involvement, so thank you. And thank you for sitting down with us today. So, Randy, I saw on the FDA's news page that there's a new indication for hospital sterilization, hospital sterilizer users, and this has to do with 3D printed devices. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so the FDA, I was so happy to see it on their web page as well. STERIS received the first hospital sterilizer clearance to sterilize 3D printed objects that are manufactured in the hospital. So we were very excited about that.
Yeah, that really is a very exciting new frontier, and it's the first of its kind that's gotten through the FDA clearance process.
It is. It is the first hospital sterilizer with those indications. So, yeah, we're pretty happy about that.
Fantastic. Well, tell us a little bit about how that got started.
So, really, it started a few years ago. One of our customers was having an issue with sterilization where the method and the cleaning that they were given wasn't appropriate for how they typically were operating in the hospital. So working with them and also with the 3D printer manufacturer, we were able to come up with a solution to help that user sterilize those devices. From that, working with that printer manufacturer, started getting into an understanding of the current situation. Because it was a real need that these users in the hospital, SPD, really didn't know how to process devices. So looking at that, we really saw that as an opportunity to provide additional benefit to our users and give them some clarity to the process that's more similar to what they're currently used to.
And when you have a first-of-your-kind sort of device, that usually involves a lot of collaboration. So I bet you worked with a lot of different groups to get this
We
through.
did. So no, it was the collaboration's actually been wonderful. So got to work very closely with a couple of 3D printer manufacturers. They really provide the tools to the hospitals. Began discussions with a lot of the hospital users to figure out exactly what they needed, what they were using, and how the process was working. And then through the Q-Sub process, we worked extensively with the FDA as we discussed with them what our approach was going to be for the efficacy evaluations, material compatibility, and biocompatibility evaluations that were put in place to support our clearance.
Yeah, and that's a really interesting aspect, the biocompatibility with 3D printed devices.
It is. It's very interesting.
Yeah. So this is a real shift for hospitals. What are the implications for them?
It is, because hospitals today, they are a medical device user, right? So we think about the perioperative loop. They've got devices that they see again and again and again, where this really shifts the paradigm to them as a manufacturer of medical devices. And as a manufacturer of medical devices, they fall under the FDA.
Right.
So hospitals have been using 3D printing for a long time to make splints, to make other patient care devices. But it's really this shift to become a manufacturer that has the FDA interested. And the FDA's obviously had a couple meetings, and they also, even December of 2021, they published a call for feedback on how they might begin to regulate this. It's interesting because the hospital has their quality system today, right? So they are excellent at providing a quality product to their users via their current systems, which follow JCO or other practices. What this does as a medical device manufacturer, it makes them shift to those requirements. Right. So ISO 13485.
Right.
And it's quite a jump for them.
Absolutely. So for those who might not be familiar with ISO 13485, that is the Quality Management Systems for Medical Devices document, and that was produced by ISO TC 210. It is now compulsory in the United States as it's incorporated into an FDA rule.
And it's interesting because the real leaders in the hospital are the radiologists and the surgeons who are taking that data patient data off of a CT scan or an MRI. And then they are creating that in the 3D space versus with software to determine what that 3D object needs to look like to support their surgical plan. And then they print it. And then it's handed off to the sterilization group, which is where I said I got started with this. But as the manufacturer, they have to do additional work, right? So if you think about the three kind of things they need to think about is who's responsible for the design, from the medical device perspective, who's responsible for the manufacturing, and how does the quality system they have encompass all of it. So when they moved to the sterilization, we felt that was an area we could have an impact in.
Absolutely.
So what the vPro Max 2 sterilizer specialty cycle does is it gives them a validated sterilization method to sterilize these hospital-made devices that surgical guides and anatomical models that are made within a specific design window with certain materials. So that was part of what we had to do, is really focus down on, as a start, certain materials and designs that so long as the device meets those requirements, they could sterilize them.
Yeah, so as you pointed out, it's a real paradigm change. It makes sterile processing departments become part of the manufacturing process. And I know they're no stranger to quality, but the attention to 13485 is certainly a bit of a change. So
it is. And they may or may not have that much involvement with it, but it's certainly a change for the hospital, because they may then be called to participate, and I don't know if they'd be called in for an FDA audit or review, but it's a real change for them. So what we want to do, what STERIS wants to do, is give them, again, a process with clarity that follows how they're used to operating today, where they, the sterilizer tells them, wash and clean this way before you sterilize the device. Right. And that's what this clearance does for us.
All right. Well, it's been a really fascinating evolution of the technology, so I appreciate learning more about it, and we look forward to the future.
All right. Thanks, Amanda.
Thank you.